Howdy everyone, how are you doing? It is George Anastazi here, back with another video, coming to you from Milopotanas? I don't know how to pronounce it. Anyways guys, today I wanted to talk to you about the pros and cons of traveling during a global pandemic. So for those of you who may not know, I have been island hopping for the last week, really. I went to Cyprus about a month and a half ago. I got repatriated, and when I heard that the borders were opening to Greece, I took the opportunity immediately and hopped on a plane and went. I obviously took into consideration all of the precautions, but from what I've observed with Greece and Cyprus, they've been taking very similar precautions. They wouldn't have opened everything up had it not been safe. So, I trusted the government, and I also took into the consideration that I'm young and healthy, and so the risk factor for me being able to travel is lower. So anyways, without rambling too much, I think it's also important to mention that I'm going to be traveling for the next couple of weeks. I'm going to be going to some more islands. So now I was in Paros, now I'm in Ios. I'm going to be going to Santorini, and then to Naxos, then to Syros, then to Mykonos, right? So I'm going to be traveling a lot. Having been out here for a week, I have to tell you, it's very surreal, right? There's a lot of things that are different this summer, quite evidently. I'm sure you won't be surprised about that are not the same as last summer. And so it's surreal. It's weird. It feels very different. And there are many things about it that are really cool and that I'm kind of like, yes, like this is awesome. You would never get this any other year. But there are some things where you're like, oh, like I wish it was this way. I wish it was how it used to be. And so this is kind of what I'm going to be talking about this video, what the pros and cons are. So let's start with the pros. The first pro is that you don't have to plan ahead as much. Like if you are last minute with things, it's okay. Like, so last year, for instance, it's obvious that the Greek islands are places that are really in high demand. So oftentimes they're like very, very busy. But this year, they're not, right? So, for instance, if I'm in one island and I decide, like, I change my mind and I want to go to another island and I want to book accommodation for the next day, for instance, there's going to be a lot of accommodation available and people are dying to have you. So it kind of allows for like a kind of more stress-free experience, because you're kind of just playing everything by ear, and that goes the same with like restaurant reservations, with sunbeds. Like I'm on one of the nicest beaches in Ios. I just mentioned Milopotanas beach, and like I had no issue getting sunbeds. Like look, it's virtually empty. Whereas last year it would be heaving. Like I spoke to one lady who owns a restaurant on the beach, and she was like, last year people would have to make bookings literally to be able to get here. So the nicest restaurants, the nicest spots on the beach, good hotels, like you're gonna be able to get them, and you don't need to plan ahead for them. You don't need to like call up to book. You can just go, and there are hardly any tourists, so you can really just like sit anywhere you want and get the nicest views without anyone around. The second one is that things are a lot cheaper. Again, because there aren't a lot of tourists around, prices are so low. Like I'm staying in a hotel right now that I would never have been able to stay at last year. Like the view is absolutely unreal, and so it's such a good time to come to places like Greece that are usually in high demand, but at the moment are obviously not. And so you kind of have a window where you're able to quickly come and see the things that are usually like things that like celebrity status people would come to, and you get to do it at an affordable rate. The third one is that it kind of relates to the other ones, and it's that it's not overcrowded. So again, like just like the one with planning ahead, you like when you're touring around like tourist places, kind of like going to the churches and going up to the mountains and stuff, like You don't have to be behind a queue of anyone. And actually, especially in these islands, like it's so much nicer because you're going there to appreciate the nature, right? And you can't really appreciate it when you have a group of tour people being shouted at or talked at by a tour guide. It just doesn't have the same feel. But now you get to go up to the top of the mountain and just like really reflect and be alone and take in the sights, and that's just like so nice. It's just, and same with the beach. Like, if you'd usually have like a huge crowd of people in the water, and it would be really like annoying, whatever, maybe someone's like gonna pee next to you, who knows, it's just like gross. But now you don't have that. Also, someone was telling me, like, I'm going to Santorini and I've never been, but someone was telling me like last year they, like a tourist, that the rare tourist that I came across along the way, she went to Santorini last year and it was not nice at all because it was so heaving with tourists. Like, it's not enjoyable anymore, right? So she's like, you're gonna love it this year because it's not that busy. And my parents are there now and they said the same. They were like, it's not that busy, so you can really enjoy it without crowds of tourists. And the final pro I wanted to give was that people are more like open to talking to you and more friendly. I think anyway, it goes without saying that Greeks are very friendly, but I think because like there's a lacking of tourists, they're more open to like sitting and having a conversation with you. So this is really nice, especially if you're traveling alone, because yeah, I guess because people have been starved of human contact. And so it's just so nice for them to meet new people and chat. And so you can be walking around and then you just stop and have a chat with a random person for like 15-20 minutes, because they want to. And maybe when it was busier they just wouldn't want to because they're kind of drained of all of their human interaction and they don't really want to talk. But right now, like, people are really in the mood to communicate, right? And so even if you, and then when you find like the once like very rare tourist, you kind of band together and you're kind of like really chat and really get to know each other. And so people are way more open to chatting and connecting. Okay, so those were my pros. I can't really think of any others. Now for the cons. Dum dum dum. Okay, so for the cons, I would definitely say for the cons, the fact that if you are the kind of person who likes nightlife, then forget about it. Like, especially in a place like Eos. I haven't been to Santorini yet or Mykonos, but my parents told me Santorini, they're already there. They said it's quiet, like maybe less quiet than here, a bit more busy, but it's still quiet. Paros was quiet, the clubs were closed. Mykonos, which is known for like to be like obviously a globally known as a party place, it's dead because I have a couple of friends who are a couple, basically, and they went to Mykonos and they were like, it's dead, oh my god. I have heard that tourism is picking up, but right now, like, don't travel if you're looking to party. It's just not going to happen. Like, I went to a bar yesterday and I was the only one, and I was there for like an hour, and I was still the only one. Like, literally the whole time, I was the only one. And so, yeah, for nightlife, forget it. Like, it just makes you sad. It depresses you because you just reflect on what life used to be like before the pandemic, and you're kind of like, oh, it's so sad. Like, no one's around. Remember when we were all free, not a care in the world? Now it's not like that. So it's more of a depressing hobby now than it is a fun one. So I definitely say, just like, if you're looking to have good nightlife and come to the Greek islands for good nightlife, rule it out because it's not going to happen. The second one is that restaurant owners are really stressed out at the moment. So be careful about their tactics in trying to sell you things. They're trying really hard and they're doing it in very sneaky ways, right? I went to a bar and this lady, the promoter, was just standing by me the whole time trying to make conversation because she was clearly trying to keep me there, and I was aware of it. But because I'm traveling alone, I kind of gave into the manipulation because I was like, do you know what, it's nice to be able to talk to someone. So I just talked to her for a while, but it was obvious that she was trying to keep me there. And so she was like, how's it going? So where are you from? So what are you doing? Nice, nice. And she didn't leave my side the whole time. And when she went to the bathroom, the other promoter came next to me to talk to me. So it was like they were rotating. So just be careful because people are going to be trying to get money off you really like crazily, right? Because they're dying for money. But one thing I want to say about that is at the same time, I would say, and this is more advice than a con, but I would just say to be forgiving to those people because they are going through a lot, and to not be too tight with your money because obviously if you are you know, you don't have like millions of dollars to spend like I do, like I don't, sorry, not like I do, yeah, I wish, then you've got to be careful. But I would say just take into consideration that these waiters and these shop owners are suffering, and so if there's any way in which you can help them, you know, if there's a hat that's a little bit more expensive but it is within your budget, and you know it means you plugging into the economy, then go ahead and do it. You know that Greece needs all of the countries that are open now needs all of the tourism they can get, because it is really sad to see how, you know, down they are about it all. The third one is it can get kind of lonely at times, especially if you're traveling alone. If you're traveling with a family, then it's not going to really be an issue as long as you're not the kind of family who likes to meet new people. But for a lone traveler, it can get lonely at times because it's lonely anyway sometimes when traveling alone. But when you're traveling alone and there's hardly any tourists around, it's even harder. Like there are tourists, but they're mostly Greeks, which isn't an issue. It's just I'm not that good at speaking Greek, and they're lovely. They're so nice, but they're kind of in their own groups and stuff. It's just not the same when you have travelers. They're open to meeting you and stuff. So it's harder to meet new people, and so it can be quite a lonely experience traveling. I think that's it. I think those are all the pros and cons that I have. If you have any questions about what it's like traveling during a pandemic, please put them down in the comments below. I will respond to all of them. I know that there's a lot of you out there who are raring to travel at the moment, are raring to see Greece. So if you do want to see Greece digitally, if it's not possible for you, then do subscribe to my channel. I will be posting things about Greece very frequently. And other than that, thank you so much for watching my video. I hope it proved to be helpful for you, and have a nice day. Bye.